When did you get involved in SPX? Like, what was the time frame there?
So it was when everything went on a big run, September time, 24.
Gotcha. Hmm.
Um, I'd kind of like been aware of Murad and Murad posting a lot of stuff of what he thought about memes and a lot of his kind of like what was becoming his thesis. And his list, was already kind of, it was already popping up, and he was like pointing out a lot of on-chain metrics and
Yep.
stuff. But the funny thing is like I mean, you probably go and find them on my timeline. I don't think I've like deleted them, but there was quite a few times that it was like openly critical. It's like, dude, like you're not calling out like some of the communities that I know that are going on. I don't see whiff in your list when you're like saying things like Popcat and
Yeah.
Apu, whatever the coins are. So I thought he was playing quite a kind of like selective game of like obviously his bags whilst
Right.
ignoring like what else was going out there. So I was like actually a bit skeptical of like Murad as like this guy is just like, hardcore shilling his own bags. He's
Yeah.
not being objective, blah, 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 blah. But obviously then I did have an awareness of his coins and the ones that, like he was talking about. And I started to see SPX make a move. Like, actually, I came in really as a trader because one of like, if I have to say like how I've played this cycle and quite successfully, I haven't been getting into coins normally when they're in the sub 10 million market cap. I've been looking for coins that have established themselves in some way, maybe like pulled back a bit, but are like clearly not going away. Like that was Whiff. Like, I got in at the like 120 million like market cap. And it was after they'd like had a big spike up and it was consolidating and there was a big defense at that level. But I could see that this thing like had virality, it had mind share. So I like to go in like that kind of like range, 50 to 100 million, size in quite like relatively big rather than this like pray and spray kind of
Yeah.
like, on
Right.
in the trenches, which I just think,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work out for most people, as we know. You can see the stats, but you can like I think do a pretty good assessment of things when things have been in the market and have had some time, and that's exactly part of Murad's thesis, right?
Exactly.
He was looking for that. Um, so I got in then. Obviously, like things really started to run crazy,
Yeah.
and immediately, like it's just natural instinct for me because I've already been creating lots of content, lots of videos at this point across multiple points. Like, right, okay, let's see if I can find something exciting to make for SPX. And I just noticed this limitless like clip in one of the SPX like videos. And I was like, oh, maybe that's like a good one that I can go in and dub. And that forced me to like actually like I started engaging with the community. I got into the Telegram. And like one of my like early discoveries was like, I was like, guys, I'd love to make some video for you guys. Like you've seen some of the stuff that I've done with in other communities, and I had some like big some of my videos. I was very fortunate actually. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute, for them to actually get a number of views because so many people make good content and actually they don't get the visibility that they should. It, like actually pisses me off a lot of the time, but I've had a lot of good fortune in that regard. Anyway, I came across Hype's like what it calls it the hyperdrive
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you
All
can
that
get
stuff. Yeah.
access to,
Hmm.
right? And all the assets, and like somebody had actually gone and like gone through and like pulled out all the like little bits of like footage, clips, all the memes. And I was like, finally, like this was something I was often in other communities saying,
Yes.
guys, where are you putting everything? Like we need
Uh.
like like a design, a media pack, like because I was used to working in tech where you have like brand guidelines and like all these kind of like all the artifacts and files and stuff that you need to like start doing things with, right? And when
Yeah.
I saw a coin had actually, and somebody in that community had actually taken the time to do that, I was like, okay, this is like, these people were like not taking it seriously because
Yeah.
that's also something part of the reason I dressed in a silly way is like sometimes I think there is a danger that we take ourselves too seriously,
Sure.
but also it was just sort of like this is like people who are actually trying to create fertile ground for other people to go and do stuff.
Yep.
You know, it's another thing that I actually love about the community is like you see the OGs lift other people up. You see Murad go and reply on a like a 200 like X account
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
welcome them into the community. And you see like a lot of the people that are on the creative side, they want to help other creators, you know, and then they're happy not to take the limelight, not to get the credit. Like they haven't got an ego that's like thinking more about their own, you know, follower count than, you know, what's going to be happening for the coin. So that was the point that was like, okay, right, there's I'm in, you know, fully in terms of just like wanting to do stuff for this community. But then when I like really got into the lore, then when I started really like exploring all the facets of SPX, you know, like I just fell in love. And you know, before we're gonna chat, like it is the perfect coin
Yep.
for me in so many ways. So that was really my journey in. And like to be honest, it didn't take long really. Like
Yep.
there's still a few communities that I have a lot of time for.
Sure.
But you know, I've just increasingly become more and more of a maxi, not because I don't want to see other coins succeed.
Of course.
Far from it, actually. I would love to see more SPX like coins in terms of the way that they organize, the way that their values are the way that they like lift others up. It's just that unfortunately, I just don't see many out there. There are a few. We know, you know, some of the ones on Murad's list, which
Yep.
obviously would be like probably top of people's minds, but yeah, that's why it's sort of like it's just, you know, every time I start looking at things and just sort of evaluating my port, and
It's
it's
like, nah.
like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some bags that I'm just dragging around. I don't know why I do, but I do have some of those. But
I have a rule now, like if because I still like, you know, as a percentage of my port, like I probably play with like 1 or 2%
sure.
in still in some stuff, right? And I have a rule that like anything that goes like south, like the rule is that I have to immediately convert whatever's left in that bag into SPX, you know?
That's a good rule. Yeah, I honestly have done a lot of cleanup, and I've kept the things that I feel loyal to, and that's about it. Everything else that I was
Yeah.
like speculating on is gone. So any of the things I feel loyal to, I'll keep a little bit of that. But I don't promote anything else except for SPX now because it's like kind of what you were saying. It's like with the organization of all those video assets and all that stuff. I noticed that too, and I was like, "Oh my god, yeah, that would have been great in this community, or that community." And but the thing is, when you start doing stuff for a community, it felt like it was just you doing it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You didn't feel
Yeah.
supported because not everybody had
No.
the same vision as you did. In SPX, it feels like people are going to support you, number one, and they're going to even if they're going to see at least somebody, at least several people will see the value in what you're doing,
Yeah.
and they'll support you and want it to succeed. That's a big differentiator for me.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like, you know, it's organic as well in that
Yeah,
sense, right? So, I mean, we haven't talked about this yet, but you know, I like my professional background actually, like when I was in sort of like, you know, the later stages of my career was a lot about organizational design and like basically like making organizations more decentralized, flatter management structures, putting the power into the hands of the workers, like getting rid of like middle management. Like I did a lot of like what they in the tech world they call like agile or lean like transformation
gotcha.
stuff. So that's a big sort of passion of mine. But
Yeah,
so when I saw like a lot of the way that like the DAO space is an absolute like kind of disaster zone because you've got all these people that like actually have no understanding of like actually how to run decentralized bottom up like organizations come in with some kind of like mentality of a startup and then they have like basically decision by committee with 1 million people with their own tokens like voting on every like thing that goes through the DAO. It's never going to work. But this is, and I know other people have talked about this with you already. You actually see this like natural, organic self-organization like happening in the SPX community that like actually is what I always like hope DAOs could be in many ways if they were like designed in the right way to let stuff like actually start bubbling up from the bottom up
Absolutely.
to the top. Um, so that is like also so refreshing because, you know, I've worked with lots of different organizations over the year, like in my professional life, and
Yeah.
like having to try and establish these kind of like values, which takes a lot of basically people getting their egos out of the way, surrendering control, servant leadership, where they're actually like supporting others, taking their own initiative, own responsibility, but then also having that kind of like you said, recognized by others. So yeah, I mean, it's another thing that I kind of love. I mean, you know, it's funny how I see so you see so much kind of like FUD on the timeline about SPX, and then that is
Yeah.
like literally the opposite, right? It's all bots, it's astroturf, there's nothing organic here, all the suppliers being cornered, blah 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 blah. And it's like it's actually like the opposite. And I
Yeah.
think it's like really sad that like a lot of CT are like actually missing out on that experience about
Yeah.
like being part of something like that. And it's one of the things that, you know, I really love and I rate and I appreciate like so many people in the community because of their like contributions in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in your observation about the like this is like actually a DAO kind of thing. I've heard from Ifty say something similar because he was involved in a DAO that went south, didn't go well, and he
Yeah.
said this is like a true iteration of it. Aeon Reborn said that as well. So that seems to be a common observation. I think it's definitely true. This is the
Yeah.
true incarnation of what that's trying to be.
Yeah, it's something like maybe we can talk about a bit later, like kind of where I see SPX going. But I am curious as to whether like we'll always remain as flat and unstructured and just, you know, a token that with zero utility. I can
Yeah.
see like there are future possibilities where we begin to like kind of like find a little bit of like structure to like organize ourselves. But I think what's great is, you know, one of the things that you want to do normally when you kind of try and design these things is you want to like you want to experiment and find out what works first, right?
Yeah.
Before you start formalizing all the processes and all the structure and the way things work, right?
Right.
And already we have like so many good examples of the community of like people, you know, getting together and self-organizing in the
Oh
ways that
yeah,
you've got them
so
to.
many things. Have you seen the
Um,
Earth project that somebody put
no.
together?
Oh no, yeah, the Earth
Yeah, I
where
thought that was
France is
awesome.
like dominating things.
Yeah, that's amazing. And just so many like little random things that are popping up. Somebody put
Yeah,
like a few people put together a YouTube channel to try to showcase clips,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's just cool. And I remember when the our main account got taken down. I was like, oh god, that sucks. But I'm actually
Mm.
glad it did. I think it's a good thing. In the end, I like that actually. We still have the
Yeah, I
Aeon
think
account, but we really don't have a main account. It's
I think it's actually good long term as
yeah.
well. I think we're going to end up if you really think this is going to be a multi-cycle thing, and I actually do, you know, wholeheartedly believe that at this point, and I
Oh
do
yeah.
think that we are witnessing the kind of birth of a new kind of asset class